Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, depending on where you're joining us from today. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us for today's Amtrak Vacations webinar with an in-depth look at the U.S. national parks and some of the great vacation ideas and itineraries, getting into some of the most popular and spectacular national park destinations with Amtrak. My name's Chris David. I'm going to be your host for today's webinar. We should be together for about 30 to 45 minutes or so, depending on how long we have for questions at the end. My role within Amtrak Vacations, just by way of a personal introduction, is the Vice President of Sales for Canada for our company. And I am guest hosting today on behalf of my US colleagues, sharing my perspective from my home base, which is up here in Toronto, Canada. To kick things off this afternoon, let's take a quick look at what we're going to be covered. I'll give you an overview of today's presentation. First off, some of those important facts, things to know, and items of interest about rail travel, and in particular, getting into the US national parks, traveling by train. We're going to be going over today the most popular and best-selling national park destinations for us at Amtrak Vacations. Also, looking at the aspects of our products, of our itineraries that enables you to customize starting and ending your vacation in any one of Amtrak's 500 stations throughout the lower 48 US states. And then also, we will talk a little bit about safety and about the health and safety measures, new policies and procedures that Amtrak has adopted to provide peace of mind and make sure that it's safe for all of you to travel by train and ride the rails to your vacation destination this summer in 2021. I'd like to introduce you quickly to our company. Our corporate parent is called the Yankee Leisure Group, and we are a tour operator that specializes in rail travel to destinations worldwide. We have two different brands in our company. One is Amtrak Vacations. The other is Rail Bookers. In the US, we are the official tour operator for Amtrak. So we partner with Amtrak. Important distinction here. Our company, Amtrak Vacations, is not actually Amtrak. We're not owned by Amtrak or a direct extension of them, but we are their exclusive partner, providing all of the itineraries, the vacations, the rail tour packages going into the US national parks, the great highlight cities throughout the country, and other tourism destinations accessible by train with Amtrak. Our other brand is Rail Bookers, and under Rail Bookers, you will find a very similar kind of vacation product available. Independent itineraries, traveling by train into destinations worldwide. The countries and destinations covered by Rail Bookers are Europe, Canada, Alaska. Alaska, by the way, doesn't have Amtrak, has its own railroad company, Alaska Railroad. And so that Amtrak Vacations product portfolio doesn't extend up into Alaska. The Alaska Rail Tours, and there's a fantastic selection of itineraries traveling between Seward in the south and Fairbanks in the north. That's all available through Rail Bookers. And then also luxury and specialty trains. If you thought about a bucket list 5-star travel adventure for your first journey after we're all able to travel freely once again, perhaps one of those luxury trains has come to mind, like the Orient Express or the Trans-Siberian Express, the Blue Train, or the GAN or the Indian Pacific, or some of these great, wonderful luxury rail experiences available worldwide. And those are all available through Rail Bookers with vacation packages that include the train experience along with hotel, sightseeing, and other components. Let's take a quick look at the Amtrak network. Amtrak operates throughout the lower 48 US states. It actually travels to 46 out of the 48 states. The only two that are not served by Amtrak or do not have an Amtrak station are South Dakota and Wyoming. Amtrak has over 500 stations across the country, and if it were an airline, it would be the 6th largest in the United States, serving over 30 million passengers a year. That's in a normal year, I think, looking to back to 2019. Why it's so important to see how comprehensive and wide-ranging the Amtrak network is that you can start or end your vacation in any one of those 500 stations. We will see today a variety of different national parks packages. Many of them will have a designated start city, and that is how the package has been put together in our program. However, everything we do at Amtrak Vacations is customizable, so you can start your rail vacation from your home city in any one of those 500 locations across the country, and our rail experts will modify, adjust, customize your itinerary so that you can start or end wherever you like, or indeed include any of those Amtrak stations into your itinerary. Let's look very quickly at what Amtrak's doing to make sure that rail travel is safe and to provide peace of mind for travelers who are considering traveling right now. This summer, 2021, the US is open for business. All of these national park destinations are operating, the tours are operating, and they're welcoming visitors. And so you as Americans, and I must admit, I'm a little jealous up here in Canada, have fantastic opportunities for traveling, for getting out there and experiencing wide open spaces, wilderness areas, US national parks, right on your own doorstep, traveling domestically. However, there are still concerns about about exposure, about COVID, and health and safety. And here's what Amtrak has done to mitigate some of these issues. First off, sanitation. The trains, the stations, the frequently touched surfaces, doorknobs, handrails are all being sanitized on an ongoing basis throughout the day. Face coverings are required for passengers and staff on board the trains. However, remember, on overnight rail journeys, we're going to be looking at many of them in today's presentation. You can book a private sleeping compartment, a roomette, or a bedroom. And when you're in the privacy of your own cabin on the train, you can slide the door shut and remove your mask or your face covering, relax, and really enjoy the journey. If you are traveling in economy, in an open seating area of the train, in that economy carriage where you have the 2x2 reclining seats, the train is only being booked at a 50% capacity, so every other seat will be blocked off to make sure that there's plenty of space and that those minimum social distancing guidelines can be observed on board the train. Amtrak has implemented state-of-the-art air filtration technology to make sure that the air is being circulated every 4 or 5 minutes and that fresh mountain air is being brought from outside into the train on an ongoing basis. Everything with Amtrak has gone contactless. So with ticket control, for example, and payment for snacks and other items on board the train, there is no paper changing hands, no paper tickets, no cash. It's all infrared scanners and mobile phone apps that are being used for all of that. And of course, you can't underestimate the peace of mind, the relaxation, the comfort you get from having a private sleeping compartment, which is available with rail travel. We at Amtrak Vacations have the unique ability to book 2 years in advance on any of the trains going throughout the United States, and indeed with our sister brand rail bookers for rail trips in Europe and Alaska and Canada as well. This is a huge benefit because these rail segments and other components, hotels and sightseeing, would not even be available to you if you tried to shop that directly from suppliers. So whether you're inquiring or putting together your own trip or having a travel advisor work on your behalf through Amtrak Vacations, this can be done for the first half of 2023, 2 years in advance. What's more, we can lock in the rate, which will save you enormously because things are opening up. And as that happens, there is a huge amount of pent-up demand, which will cause prices to go up for hotels, for the rail segments, and for all the components of your independent trip. So it makes very good sense and a great advantage to be able to book now for 2 years out and lock in the rate. Also at Amtrak Vacations, however, the opposite is true. We can turn a booking around on a dime. If you want to travel this year, summer 2021, indeed this month, May, June, booking last minute, looking for space in US national parks, we hold space at Amtrak Vacations because we are a specialist into the national parks. So we have an allocation of rooms reserved in some of these hard to get space national park lodges, the Altavara, the Glacier Park Lodge. So give us a call, speak to one of our rail experts. Even if you're booking last minute, there's a good chance we'll be able to get you in. I'd like to share with you quickly some of the things that traditionally people have found so convenient about working with Amtrak Vacations to book their domestic travel in the US. First off, we're a rail expert supplier, so we can advise you on all the complicated aspects of train travel. What's the best route to take? If you are starting from a home station that is somewhere on the Amtrak network and connecting with one of the hubs like Chicago, we'll be able to advise you on the timetable, the route, and get that all sorted out for you. You can book 2 years in advance or last minute. You have the flexibility to go with one of our ready-made packages or create your own itinerary from scratch and modify any component of the route that you may be interested in. And then there's the selection of rail experiences available through Amtrak Vacations, from luxury trains to regional trains, overnight trains throughout the United States, and indeed any of the high-speed rail throughout Europe, through rail bookers, as well as the Via Rail network here in Canada. So really an enormous variety. Anywhere you want to go by train, anywhere the train goes, we'll be able to help you out. And what's difficult and complex for others is easy for us, because this is our unique area of specialty. At the moment, we have a great promotion in the market called Pick Your Perk. This is exactly what it sounds like. You get $500 per couple to upgrade your vacation with a perk of your choice. This could be adding in some kind of spectacular highlight experience, like perhaps a flight seeing tour over the Grand Canyon, or it could be upgrading your room in the hotel to a suite. It could be upgrading your hotel in a particular city or destination along your itinerary to a 5-star luxury iconic resort property like the Hotel Monteleone, perhaps in New Orleans, or extending your stay, adding additional days to your vacation. All of these are ways that you can add a perk without any additional cost to yourself through our Pick Your Perk promotion, whereby you get $500 just to add some additional luxury into your experience. Everything we do at Amtrak Vacations is totally customizable. So these trips are not set in stone. You can add additional nights in any one of the cities. You can add a destination into your trip, or turn the trip into a round trip experience, even if it's presented in the itinerary online as a one-way trip. You can add a rail journey back to your point of origin, making it a round trip rail journey. And of course, the accommodation on board the train can be upgraded from economy to any one of our sleeping compartments, a roomette or a sleeper. And there is any manner of sightseeing experiences and excursions that can be added. I mentioned, flight seeing in the Grand Canyon. You can also take flight seeing trips over Denali National Park from Anchorage on our Alaska trips with rail bookers. You can add dog sledding in Alaska as well, throughout Europe. All kinds of wonderful additional components you can add into your trip. Let's take a look at some of the US national parks and our top most popular US national park itineraries with Amtrak Vacations, starting with the Grand Canyon, which of course is one of the 7 wonders of the world, and at the very top, if not close to the top of almost everybody's bucket list, whether you're in the US or other countries around the world. If you haven't been to the Grand Canyon, it is an absolute must to visit. Breathtaking spectacle, second to none. We've got lots of different itineraries at Amtrak Vacations featuring the Grand Canyon. We have getaway packages without any rail, where we take care of your hotel accommodation and your sightseeing, and provide you with a ready-made turnkey experience at the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Or you can take one of our rail trips, like the Grand Canyon Getaway round trip from Chicago, which gives you the opportunity to experience the adventure of an overnight rail journey on Amtrak, traveling across the country through beautiful scenery on Amtrak's Southwest Chief train, through the red rock scenery of New Mexico and Arizona into the Grand Canyon. The train journey from Chicago arrives in Arizona at Flagstaff, where you would debark, and from there you take a short road transfer from Flagstaff up to Williams, Arizona, which is the historic town on Route 66, which happens to be the base, the jumping off point for exploring the Grand Canyon. In Williams, you board the Grand Canyon Railroad, which is a fantastic experience. This is a unique feature of the itinerary in and of itself is the Grand Canyon Railroad. You're traveling 2 hours from Williams right up to the south rim of the canyon through beautiful scenery of ponderosa pine forests, and the train is set up and everything about the train is designed to showcase the unique atmosphere and the spirit of the Old West. You'll have characters who are boarding the train dressed as outlaws and lawmen, staging scenarios to create the really kind of fun atmosphere and environment of traveling through the Wild West right up to the Grand Canyon. When you arrive at the Grand Canyon, you're going to be staying at the historic village at the South Rim, which also is a destination in and of itself with lots of galleries and historic buildings, an old rail station dating back to the early days of tourism at the Grand Canyon, where travelers, tourists, visitors were just starting to come to the Grand Canyon to experience the incredible spectacle around the turn of the century. The Altavara Lodge is the best address on the rim of the Grand Canyon, dating back to 1905. That's when the hotel opened. At the time, it was considered the most elegant hotel west of the Mississippi, and it still has that reputation of the place to stay when you're at the Grand Canyon. Beautifully appointed suites and rooms, and you are literally spitting distance from the canyon. From your balcony, you could toss a pebble right into the chasm of the Grand Canyon. You're so close. And if you're going to be traveling across the country and making the effort to check this item off your bucket list, why not stay right there on the lip of the canyon where you can wake up to those beautiful views and experience the sunset from your own balcony as over the Grand Canyon. So here's a trip again where you have, by the way, how you read the itinerary maps here. The red lines are a rail journey. The red triangles indicate overnights spent on board the train, and the black circles are nights in a national park lodge or a hotel. So here you have 2 nights on Amtrak's Southwest Chief Train, traveling through beautiful scenery into Williams, Arizona. 3 nights at the Grand Canyon and an included Grand Canyon Freedom Tour where you'll go with a National Park Ranger along the South Rim to all the points of interest, the best scenic outlooks to get that true comprehensive Grand Canyon experience before returning back to Chicago on that overnight rail adventure. The next of the national parks that I'd like to share today, and one which is perennially popular and a great favorite for us at Amtrak Vacations, is Glacier. Glacier National Park in the northern Rocky Mountains of Montana happens to be right on the Amtrak Empire Builder train route. Empire Builder is the train that connects Chicago with Seattle, traveling through the northern Rocky Mountains. Spectacular scenery as you go through Montana, and there's an Amtrak station right inside Glacier National Park, located just steps away from the National Park Lodge. The package that we're sharing today, Whitefish and Glacier National Park, will provide hotel accommodation in Whitefish, which is a charming alpine town about 25 miles from the entrance to Glacier National Park. Whitefish is a destination in and of itself. Famously, it was the location for the movie River Runs Through It, all about trout fishing, absolute classic book by Norman MacLean turned into a movie. And Whitefish is, it's just wonderful. It is famous for fall foliage, famous for, it's one of America's top 25 ski towns, as described by National Geographic Adventure, and it is full of artists and sculptors and galleries, and a wonderful place to use as a base for exploring the magnificent scenery of the Rockies and Glacier National Park. The package that we're featuring includes a 3-day rental car, so you are at leisure to explore independently the surrounding area of Whitefish and the national park. There's a lot of outdoor activities to do in Whitefish, all manner of outdoor activities, from mountain biking to wonderful hikes that you can do. And of course, We include as part of this package an excursion through Glacier National Park. It's called the Big Sky Circle Tour, traveling on the Going to the Sun Road with a National Park Ranger who will be taking you around to see all the highlights and the best attractions within Glacier National Park. Check out the per person price. The rate here is just $2.99 per person, incredible value, and that can be combined with rail access from anywhere throughout the United States. Again, our rail experts will help you figure out the route that will get you right into Whitefish with Amtrak. We also have Glacier featured as part of several rail itineraries. It's ideal as a rail trip starting from Chicago because you have that ability to travel on the Empire Builder train, going from the Great Lakes across the prairies and into the Rocky Mountains. Again, the train will take you right to the doorstep of Glacier National Park with a station just steps away from the lodge. The trip starts in Chicago, and we can add additional nights there to take in the sights and perhaps add the absolute must sightseeing experience in Chicago, which is the architecture cruise. Then you're on the train traveling through the beautiful scenery, and all of these Amtrak Superliner trains, which is those double-decker trains that you may recognize with a sleeping accommodation on board, they're all equipped with wonderful glass-domed observation cars as well. So even if you're traveling in the economy seating, in the coach class, everybody has access to the observation car to enjoy the scenery en route. There's your Glacier Park station, which is one of my colleagues traveled recently and actually paced out the distance from the station to the lodge, and he counted 209 steps. So really, you are right there. You're being delivered to the doorstep of one of nature's most spectacular areas in Glacier National Park. Included there, you have the Big Sky Circle Tour, which is conducted on a red jammer bus dating back to the 1930s. Check out those vehicles. This is one of the neat things about Glacier. It has a historic kind of atmosphere dating back to the early days of the National Park Service, which you can feel in the lodge, and also with the tours still being provided in these immaculately maintained red jammer buses, taking you on the Going to the Sun Road to see all of those scenic highlights past Lake McDonald and all the great scenic overlooks. The vehicle has no roof, so it's the absolutely ideal way to watch the mountain peaks as you're traveling through the park. The train from Glacier continues on to Seattle. That's the end point for the Empire Builder. So there's 2 nights in Seattle to take in the sights with an included hop-on, hop-off tour that will give you admission to the great highlights like the Chihuly Garden and the Space Needle, and also give you lots of free time so that you can hang out in Pike Place Market and order a cappuccino from the very first Starbucks right there in Pike Place Market. You can upgrade your hotel accommodation with Amtrak Vacations on every night of the trip. You can do your entire trip with using, perhaps budget hotels, 3 and 4 star, and then splurge in one of the destinations or 2 along the trip just to add that little bit of additional luxury. Like this is actually the Crown Plaza in downtown Seattle, located less than a mile from the train station, and you can actually see on the screen there the Ferris wheel of Pike Place Market. So you're right there in the downtown, in the heart of the action, perfectly situated with stunning 5-star amenities to enjoy everything Seattle has to offer. So the trip's going to take you on the train overnight from Chicago, 2 nights in Glacier, 2 in Seattle, with all of those included sightseeing highlights throughout. We have several itineraries at Amtrak Vacations that take in a number of iconic parks in one package. The Grand National Parks is a 2-week trip that will include Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon, a fantastic alternative to a cruise or river cruise or European tour that you may have had in mind for this year. Yosemite, of course, is America's first national park, created in 1872, full of geological wonders like the Old Faithful Geyser, of course, as well as known for a fantastic place to see wildlife. And then there's Yosemite. Yosemite is not on the Amtrak rail route and is accessible as a day excursion from San Francisco. We will have a full day trip throughout Yosemite, taking you to all the Famous points of interest, Bridal Veil Falls. You'll see El Capitan and Half Dome, and you'll have a chance to explore Yosemite Village before returning to San Francisco, traveling back down through the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains. And then there's Glacier National Park. So again, 3 fantastic national parks, Yellowstone, Yosemite, and Glacier National Park. With all of the sightseeing included, the excursions through the parks, the hotel accommodation, the rail access. A little bit of a typo here on the slide. It's a 14-day trip, not 4 days, and a wonderful way to take in some of America's most spectacular, iconic, and popular natural places all in one 2-week itinerary. And then there's Southern Utah, the Mighty Five, Bryce, Zion, Canyonlands, Arches National Park, and Capitol Reef, all clustered within a very easily accessible area in southern Utah. And we have an itinerary that includes all of those along with the Grand Canyon. You'll go to Arches, which is known as the site of more than 2,000 natural sandstone arches, such as the massive red-hued delicate arch. You'll visit the Grand Canyon as well as part of this itinerary. Have your overnights at the Altavara, or one of the other lodges at the south rim of the canyon, and your included Freedom Tour. You'll visit Zion National Park, a wonderful, wonderful place to hike and enjoy the magnificent scenery on foot. So here you have an opportunity to visit the Grand Canyon along with the Mighty Five National Parks of southern Utah, 2 nights in Moab, 2 in Springdale, with those excursions included as a part of your itinerary, along with the overnight rail journeys from Chicago, going on the Southwest Chief train, as well as the California Zephyr train. Booking flexibility is something that many people are concerned about. What if I have to cancel or reschedule my trip? At Amtrak Vacations, we've introduced a maximum flexibility offer where you can cancel 5 days prior to departure and receive a 2-year future travel credit that can be used towards anything we have. Lots of flexibility there because you can transfer the credit to another person if you decide you no longer wish to travel, and you can use it for absolutely anything in any destination. A little bit about the experience traveling on board with Amtrak. When it comes to your luggage, no need to stress or skimp. You can take 2 large suitcases and you can check them all 45 minutes prior to departure. So you don't have to worry about lugging your suitcases on board the train. The classes aboard on Amtrak include coach accommodation, where you have seats in an open carriage, or sleeping compartments. If you upgrade to a sleeper, you have, among other included benefits, separate priority boarding. There you have the coach accommodation, very comfortable, big, comfy reclining seats, lots of legroom, big panoramic window. However, if you're traveling in coach, if it's an overnight train, you will be sleeping at your seat and you'll be buying your meals on board because the meals are not included. In a roomette or a sleeper, which are the sleeping compartments on Amtrak, your meals are included, as well as other amenities. You have a dedicated car attendant. You have an amenity pack provided with toiletries, as well as coffee and tea throughout your journey. You can overestimate the benefit as well of having total privacy. Slide that door closed behind you and remove your face covering and enjoy the trip. By the way, you're also allowed to bring alcoholic beverages on board, which you can enjoy in the privacy of your own roomette or sleeper. Roomette is the entry-level sleeping accommodation on Amtrak, 2 large seats that convert overnight into bunk beds. No washroom facilities in the compartment. Those are private, but shared down the hall at the end of the rail car. If you do want the extra privacy of an ensuite washroom, you would upgrade to a bedroom where you have your toilet, shower, and vanity all right there in your own private compartment. Bedroom has a big lounge chair and a love seat that convert into bunk beds overnight. The bottom bunk bed's about 50% wider than the top one, so it's suitable for a young child. You can have a mum, dad, and the little one can share the bottom bunk bed with one of the parents. Wheelchair accessible bedrooms are available with Amtrak. However, there is a limited capacity. There are not too many of them. So if you're interested in an accessible compartment, be sure to inquire well in advance. Wonderful dining service on Amtrak. flexible meals, so you can choose from a variety of different menu options, which you can take in the dining room. Now, the dining rooms are currently closed due to COVID, but this is a policy that's being updated on an ongoing basis as vaccination rates increase and as COVID becomes less of a concern. The dining cars will open back up. The observation cars, by the way, the glass-domed observation cars are open at the moment on a limited capacity basis. So right now, your meals are enjoyed privately in your compartment. However, once the dining cars open back up, you'll have the choice to have your meal delivered to you or to enjoy it with the other guests in the dining car. Folks, we do webinars every week at Amtrak Vacations. Next week, we're looking at most popular getaways in the US for 2021. And the following week, the top 5 destinations to visit by rail. As we approach the end of the webinar, I'd like to ask everybody to share a little bit of your thoughts with me, if you don't mind. And this will set us up perfectly for question period, because I'm going to ask you to all open up your question box and give us an indication of the destinations that we discussed today and maybe some of the trips that really resonated for you. Very helpful for us to understand really where everybody's at in terms of the places in the US that are most appealing for visiting in 2021. So is it Yellowstone, Yosemite, Glacier National Park, the Mighty Five of Southern Utah, or some of those cities that we go to, perhaps San Francisco or Seattle? I'm seeing lots of glaciers, seeing Southern Utah, Yosemite. Lots of people are interested in the Grand Canyon. And there's some outliers as well. Other destinations that we haven't discussed, Niagara Falls. That's an interesting one. And we're just desperately waiting for the US-Canada border to open up so everybody can return to Niagara Falls and enjoy the magnificent view of the falls from the Canadian side as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing those insights about what is really capturing your imagination. And with that, let's hand it over to you for any questions that you may have. So I'm just opening up my question panel. Melanie's asking, can you upgrade to a sleeper car when booking online? Melanie, we at Amtrak Vacations do not have online booking. It's really all done by phone, because our rail experts will work with you to customize your itinerary, the upgrade from economy, your hotels, your sightseeing, anything you want to include into your package, we will customize for you, and that's all best done by phone. Diane is saying they could not give me rates on Pittsburgh to William Grand Canyon tour for October 2022. Diane, I'm not sure who you would have reached out to. Perhaps you were speaking with Amtrak directly. If so, it would be a great idea to give us a call at Amtrak Vacations. We are able to, to provide those quotes even well into the future, well into 2022. Munish is pointing out a spelling error on Chicago. I do apologize, and if you're a Chicagoan, I hope that there was no offense taken. Angela is saying, on vacations where you stay overnight in a hotel, where do they get your meals? Are they included in the price? Angela, there are no meals included unless the itinerary specifically states that there's an included meal in that, on that particular trip. We do have some trips to Glacier, for example, where a meal is included at the wonderful restaurant in the lodge, where, by the way, they serve local specialities like, bison and elk, along with the special dessert of Montana, which is huckleberry pie. Paul is asking, at Glacier, can you go to Waterton and other Canadian stops when the border opens up? Paul, absolutely. We have itineraries that combine Glacier with Waterton going across the border. For those of you who don't know, Glacier National Park is right on the Canadian border with Alberta, our Alberta province. And north of the border, We have our own Canadian National Park, Waterton Lakes, which is spectacular in its own right. And there are itineraries that feature both that will go across the border. Nita is asking about accommodations for those with limited mobility. Nita, yeah, and Amtrak is great about that. There are wheelchair accessible bedrooms, and if you're traveling in coach, there are special facilities for your wheelchair, and you will get assistance on the platform to board and debark the train. Cynthia's asking, can it be longer than 2 weeks so we can see everything in one trip? Cynthia, absolutely. These itineraries are really suggestions. They're kind of curated packages, but it's all independent travel. You're not traveling with a group and you're not confined to a set departure. So our rail expert will work with you to customize that itinerary. If you want to change it significantly, you could add 2 itineraries together. So if you had, 3 national parks and you wanted to include, going down on the train to southern Utah, and we could do that. Absolutely. Make it a 3-week trip, no problem at all. Do the trips through the parks go January through March? Cynthia is asking. It depends, Cynthia. Some of the parks are summer only. Glacier National Park has a 4-month season between June and September. Grand Canyon is open year-round, so it would depend on the parks. However, even for places where the national park may be closed, like Glacier in the winter months, the shoulder seasons, even after it's closed, like in October, can be a fantastic time to visit, the area. Whitefish is known for Whitefish, which is the town outside Glacier National Park in the Rocky Mountains, is known for fall foliage, and even in the in October and early November could be a wonderful place just to visit for the train journey, going up into the fall foliage and exploring the area. Is there transportation provided to and from the hotels? Nita is asking. In some cases, Nita, there will be with the U.S. national parks. When it comes to cities like Seattle, for example, we don't include a scheduled transfer, like a limo pickup at the rail station, because that can be very expensive and also quite inconvenient if you have to meet a designated transfer driver at the station. And most of our clients find that it's easier just to get a cab at the rail station for that very short trip. For example, to the Crown Plaza that we looked at, it's 0.8 miles from the rail station to the hotel, and you just get a very quick cab ride from the station. Barb is asking when the Canadian border might reopen. Barb, it's a crystal ball question and anybody's guess. Those of us, up here in Canada, we are optimistically hoping for late summer, early fall for the border to reopen. Kenneth is asking, what is California Zephyr? Kenneth, California Zephyr is the Amtrak train that travels between Chicago and San Francisco, and it goes through absolutely beautiful scenery through the Rocky Mountains. Probably the most scenic stretch of rail in the entire United States is between Denver and Moab, going through the Rocky Mountains. That's on the California Zephyr train, but each of the trains has its own sort of unique scenery that it passes through. Empire Builder is the northernmost east-west route from Chicago to Seattle, and there you're going through, the northern Rockies, which is all granite peaks and pine forests and blue lakes, whereas the California Zephyr is going through sort of that more reddish and arid part of the Rockies. Julia's asking, is there a ballpark time frame reopening the dining rooms? Julia, we don't know. Things change so rapidly with COVID. You'll have a new policy coming out sort of 1 week to the next. We have not been advised by Amtrak on a timeline for that. Tom is asking, who can I call in Detroit about help with 4 80-year-olds from the car to the train? Tom, give our rail experts a call. They will be able to advise what is possible in terms of red cap porters or helpers or Amtrak staff in Detroit who might be able to help, and they can reach out to the station and to Amtrak to find out. Folks, those appear to be all the questions that we have today. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your attention, your engagement, for your great questions. Really appreciate your taking time to learn a little bit more about Amtrak Vacations. Wherever your travels may take you, folks, bon voyage. We do hope to see you on board or joining us for a webinar in the near future. Thanks again, and bye for now.